Larry, how you doing?
I'm great, handsome Dave. How are you?
Yeah, good. Good to see you, Katie. Thanks again for being on. So we're just going to ask you a few questions, and like Larry said, free form it. We use the questions when we can't think of anything else to keep to go on, but we want to kind of keep a little bit of a structure here where we're talking about like who you are, like the prepare phase, the hire phase, and the thrive phase, and go through like a conclusion and stuff. But why don't we kick this off with just tell us, just briefly who you are, what you do, what is your company about?
Okay, thank you. Great to be here. My name is Katie Leimbach. I am the president and co-founder for Aable LLC. We are a woman-owned small business specializing in IT services for the federal government. Specifically, we do a lot of cybersecurity, program management, as well as engineering. So we work with a number of different organizations to include the Marine Corps and the Navy, as well as DISA.
All right.
That's great. That's good.
Very cool.
All right. So that's a lot going on, right? So what challenges were you facing or were you bumping up against? You said, criminy, I can't do this by myself. Maybe I need to get a VA.
Right. So for us, it's a lot of the back of the house operational tasks that we really have challenges with.
Yeah.
We need to be client facing most of the time. Networking as a small business, we really need to be out front. And we were just getting tied down by all of the administrative tasks, policies, numbers, you name it. It's the things that just take a lot of time, and they contribute to the business, but they are not contributing to growing the business.
No, yeah.
We hear this so often. It's the whole working on your business and not in your business, right? And sometimes you just get sucked under with these things when you're working in your business, right? Hey, remind me, how did you happen to hear about HireMyVA and our white glove service?
So I participated in an IVMF, the Institute for Veteran and Military Families, through Syracuse University. I had participated in a couple of their programs. My first introduction to Larry was when you actually briefed BWise.
Yeah.
So I got to hear your story there. And then they had advertised a Mastermind Accelerator Challenge program. And I applied to that mainly because I was interested in the program, but I had heard you and I thought that would be really, really interesting to learn more from you based on what I had heard at VWise. So I applied and I was very fortunate to be selected. And during that time, you mentioned the program. Usually it was to help all of us entrepreneurs who were struggling with very similar issues of time management. And so from there, I looked more into the program.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, one of the things we oftentimes talk about is that time management is really team management, right? And when you make sure that you can work in your strengths as the founder doing the strategic stuff instead of on the day-to-day stuff, opportunities tend to find you a lot easier for sure. So, good. Thanks. Dave, anything you want to continue on?
So Katie, you'd heard about hiring somebody in the Philippines. And I mean, did you have any concerns about that? Because you knew that once we talked about the HireMyVA service, that's where we get our VAs from. Did you have any concerns about that?
So I did, working with the federal government, obviously, with having foreign nationals working for you. There are different things that you have to watch out for. So we have made a concerted effort to ensure that she works on really internal, organizational, able tasks. She is not client facing and she does not work with our clients and she does not have any PII information with our employees. So we really do keep her firewalled working on tasks that she can do independently, obviously with, reaching back to us if she has questions, but really working on things that we need for the business and the company, but is separate from our actual client portfolio. So that was really our only concern, but it has worked out very well, and we've had no issues with it. And our federal government folks are very understanding as well. I mean, they don't see her, they don't work with her, and she doesn't touch any of that information.
Okay.
Tell us about. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was going to say, so you kind of knew up front that it wouldn't be any kind of an issue as long as you had the walls, right? Because you talked about you being a cybersecurity firm. I would imagine that there's a common concern out there that people would be like, oh, they're going to steal my stuff and all that. But it seems like that's not been a concern of yours at all.
Correct. We firewalled her from anything that would be a risk. So
okay. All right.
Yes.
Very good. So Larry.
Well, I was just curious about how smooth or unsmooth or rough was the process of finding the candidate for you, the person you ultimately hired, and what's been your level of satisfaction with her since she's been on board?
Okay, well,
It's time to be honest too, by the way, because we want the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay. Well, I will start at the beginning for the process. I think the process works very well. We just were a little slow at it. I think it was a combination of vacation time and other things going on where the candidates were presented and we watched the recordings. It was great. We knew that we liked the candidates. We were interested in interviewing all three. And then we were slow on our end to say, these are the folks we like. So the onus on that was for us. And then we thought, well, one of the candidates, I think, dropped because, or had found another position because, again, we waited. So don't wait. That's my message. And we did interview another candidate who, just to kind of make sure we weren't just taking one candidate because that candidate was the only one available by the time we decided. Even though she was at the top of the list. So with all of that said, we ended up having a very successful, phase on this part. But had we not waited, I think it would have been a little better. So when they present the candidates, the recommendation is to actually jump on it because apparently there are other opportunities for some of these folks to go and find, which we were not fully aware of. And so, again, we lost one of the candidates that we had been interested in. But
I think it's like anywhere, the good candidates are going to be the ones that will be poached first, right? And if they've got the qualities to be hired by you, they've got the qualities to be hired by other people, I suppose. But tell me about, I get that it was a little bit more of a protracted process because of whatever reasons internally, but how long did it take to find the candidates or get them on board, I guess? And how long do you think it could have taken if you were to do it over again? Or should it take the next time you do it, knowing what you now know about, hey, if we get a good candidate, jump on it?
Right. So I think it's hard for me to recall, but I don't think it would have taken even 30 days if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. I think it was probably 2 to 3 weeks max that it took to present the candidates. And then we had a week to look at the recordings and the resumes and then set up the interview. So I want to say it probably would have taken about 3 to 4 weeks. And I think we ended up taking maybe 6 to 8. I can't remember exactly, but I know it took longer than it should have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we did adjust in our process slightly is to make sure that like you folks are aware that you got to act on this stuff like right away. And so up front, we let everybody know that because of kind of like what you experienced a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. So talk about how your VA, how she's like integrated with your workflow. Maybe talk about a few of the tasks that she has. I mean, you talked at the beginning, it was an administrative person. Now, of course, the more specialized the candidate is, the longer it's going to take to find folks that will qualify for that. But just talk about some of the tasks that they're doing, how they lighten your load and how that's all gone.
Okay. Right now, we have her working on a number of different things. She has done market research for us. One of the big things, we're going to apply for ISO 9000 certification, and we did apply for a grant to help fund that effort. And she did all of the research, background research that we needed to write the proposal. And I honestly, with everything going on, would never have had time to do that level of research, detail-wise, that she was able to conduct on my own. I just didn't have the time. And with that, she also, it was a very, very rough draft, but she did put the information together in a format that I could easily then place into the grant proposal. So that was a big, big help. We've also had her doing some market research really for our business development side, looking at what federal organizations we're interested in, pursuing. This is all public knowledge, so no issues there. Points of contact that we can reach out to, various organizations that we are interested in being involved with, dates of events. So really a lot of market research on that. In terms of back of the house efforts, being a relatively new company, we are still getting all of our policies and procedures and employee handbook and that sort of material together. So she's been integral in putting those together, the formatting, the editing and everything. And then obviously bringing it back to us when she has questions and saying, am I doing this right? Or do I have the right information? And then documenting everything and putting it all together for us.
Oh, wow. Wow. Larry, you're muted.
So it sounds like she's made an impact there at the organization. I don't know if you're able to quantify how having a VA on your team has increased productivity or improved work-life balance for you as a founder or leader in the organization, or whether you've just got anecdotes about it. But I'd love to hear that, because a lot of people get fearful. Okay, I'm going to invest in this process, and are they really going to make an impact on my life or on my business? How would you address that?
So I think I'll look at it on the HR, the documentation and policies, procedures that she's worked on for us. Mm-hmm. Those are things that we sort of started, but never got around to really. Yeah. And to hire somebody to do that here in the US, when we didn't need the legal piece of it. We just needed the policy and the documents updated and looked at and rewritten. So there is a huge cost impact on when you look at it from that perspective. We all know outsourcing HR in the US is quite expensive.
Yeah.
So to have her help us with that, things that we had already drafted but not really finished, that were always on the bottom of the to-do list, time-wise, as well as the impact on the business for our employees, is very, very big. The market research that she's done, again, those are things that it's hard to quantify, and did that save me money? But again, had I tried to go to a third party, I'd get maybe 10 hours a month, and it would probably cost more than what my VA does. So even though I've never looked at it, one-to-one, in the back of my mind, I can tell you it is a big difference, and it's tailored to me. That's the other thing. If I had gone to a third-party organization, I would just get boilerplate, and I would be in the same position that I am in right now, or that I was in, where I have a boilerplate, but it's not tailored.
Excellent. So given all of that, thinking about your entire overall experience so far from the beginning and to the end, would you recommend our HireMyVA white glove service to other business owners or entrepreneurs?
Yes. And actually, I already have. Now I don't know if that's anybody's ever taken me up on it, but when people do ask, or they're complaining about, not having enough time or not having the right people doing the tasks that are needed, I have suggested, you can look into this service, because all of those tasks that you could literally do from anywhere, that you don't have to be in person, that you don't have to work with that person one-on-one on, for hours at a time. This is a great opportunity to get those tasks completed. I think, with Giselle, our VA, what we usually end up doing is we meet twice a week. We used to meet every morning for about a half an hour at the beginning, but now we meet twice a week, and here's what you're working on. How is it going? What are your pain points? Do you need help? Do you have questions? And then we move on from there.
I think that's so important. This is part of what we call the Thrive section of the whole process. And boy, if you don't set up that relationship right in the beginning about setting expectations, effectively communicating with your VA, you're going to have the same problems you have if someone's coming into your office every day. It's going to feel rudderless, right? So I appreciate that you're investing that kind of time into their success. That's very cool. Thanks. Do you have any other thoughts about the process or suggestions that you might have on how we can improve our process to help folks like you out?
Well, I think the feedback that you provided on explaining to people at the beginning, about the time crunch is very good. Honestly, the information that you provide on your website, with the different steps of how you should work with the VA have been very, very helpful. I think all of the tips that have been given on how to best work with them in regards to the culture of the Filipino, that's huge. And I definitely do see a lot of that, what you have brought up in those discussions. I do see that in our relationship with our VA.
Right.
So just keep on giving us that feedback, and I think that folks will have a very successful working relationship with their VAs.
Good. Thanks.
One of the things that I've thought of doing, it's kind of been on my list, but I keep pushing it down to the side, is doing like a weekly email with a tip, on how to work with the Filipino VAs, or a tip on management, or reminding you to track their time, or whatever it is to help you thrive. Because I think that even though we provide some really great training and a couple of meetings and stuff, you're 6 months into it, and it's easy for stuff to be forgotten, and I forget too. So do you think something like that would be valuable?
I think it would be very valuable, because I will say timekeeping can sometimes be a challenge. That we do have to sometimes remind her to, send your invoice in. So I think it just kind of keeps things in the front of your mind, where you're normally just focused on the work at hand versus what needs to actually be done administratively.
Okay. That's a really good point. We've heard this from other clients too. It's amazing what the brain does when things just start magically getting done. You know what I mean? You start to overlook, actually, someone's actually producing all this work that's happening, right? So that's a really good point, Katie. Thank you. That's good. Yeah. So timekeeping is a good one.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
This has been helpful, Dave.
Yeah, this is great, Katie. I don't know if you have any other thoughts or comments that you wanted to bring up.
No, I think I think it's all been a very positive experience, and I appreciated the feedback from you, but also the gentleman that is in the Philippines helping out on this with the whole process. He really was very helpful, not only during the interview process, but giving us feedback on, is this a cultural thing? and I can't remember exactly what it was, but is this cultural or is this, something I should watch out for? And I think that perspective is very good too, because there are differences in cultures and especially the way they work. And I know they have the different holidays. Apparently Halloween is a very big holiday in the Philippines, bigger than here. I had no idea.
Yep.
So it's things like that unless your VA tells you, you won't know. So I think the cultural piece, to enable me to have a good relationship with our VA, the cultural piece is very important. And when I do recognize something from her culture, she's always very appreciative.
Right. That's
Awesome.
good to know. It's good to know. Yeah, Christmas is another one, so be prepared. I was just in Manila 10 days ago, and just about everywhere you look, there are already Christmas decorations and music in the stores. So very fascinating.
That's crazy.
We do have a whole list of all of those in the program, so you can grab them anytime you want.
Yeah,
awesome.
But yeah, November 1st and 2nd is the day or days of the dead or whatever.
Yep. Same thing here with the Hispanic community.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's it for me. Anything else, Larry?
No, this is great. Katie, it's good to see you again. Are you going to be at Edge?
I am. I have not applied yet, but I am planning to go.
Oh, do.
You should go.
Are you both going to be there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay. Is there another challenge, I guess?
There's an acceleration challenge, yes, that will be there that we're running. So
very good.
Yeah.
And I plan on being there live too.
You will be there live. You will not have COVID this year.
Hey.
I'm claiming that now, David.
Yes, for sure.
Right. Yeah. Well, good. Then I'll actually get to meet you in person.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be great to do that.
Good.
Okay.
All right, Katie. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you. And we'll see you in March.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate all your help. Take care.
God bless.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kate.